everyone, and welcome to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today's lesson is an advanced level lesson. That means we'll be speaking using our normal English tone of voice and using some very, very difficult vocabulary and phrases. So this is really good practice for all of you out there.
That's right. We're going to change a little bit the dynamic of how it works. We're not going to look specifically at language takeaway or fluency builder. We're going to talk about the topic. We are going to pick out a couple of different words and phrases that are used in the dialogue, but we're mainly going to just have a conversation, and you can just listen and study a little bit of what we're saying.
So what is the topic today, Marco?
Well, today we're going to talk about the environment, specifically about our carbon footprint.
Okay, that is the title of today's lesson. I encourage all of you to listen to the context of that phrase, and we'll be back in a moment to talk about what it and some of these other phrases mean.
So what's your guys' take on all this global warming hysteria in the media?
It's pretty serious, man. There have been tons of scientific studies, and the scientific community says that the Earth is heating up. We need to make some drastic changes to our lifestyle if we want to preserve our planet.
I don't know. It sounds like a bunch of mumbo-jumbo if you ask me. The Earth will save itself. It survived worse disasters in the past. I mean, honestly, we live in the boonies. There's no way anyone here is ever going to walk or bike to work, especially in the winter. And we have no bus system. My house is 40 years old, and it would take a lot of money to get it refitted to be green and energy efficient.
Well, I don't really know if I believe in global warming either, or whether or not it was our doing or a natural change the Earth is going through. But you have to admit that we're living pretty irresponsibly here in the West.
I guess.
I think the issue at hand is sustainability. We've only got this one Earth we can live on, and our resources are quickly disappearing because of our own carelessness and our inability to think of anyone but ourselves and anything but the present.
So, like I was saying, we need to change the way we live. We need to reduce our carbon footprint.
But it doesn't have to be that drastic. Hybrid vehicles and solar panels are too expensive to be feasible right now. And we don't have to be hippies living off the land and buying everything organic either. Though it helps.
I carpool to work every day with some buddies of mine. I have a rain barrel outside my house I use to water my plants and my lawn in the summer. And I make sure I always bring reusable bags with me when I get my groceries. And we just started using biodegradable plastic made from corn oil for takeout orders at my family's restaurant. Remember the 3 R's? Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Exactly. It's just small, simple changes. Like buying energy-saving light bulbs, starting a compost bin, recycling bottles and papers, using reusable water bottles, stop using disposable cups and cutlery.
Like the ones we're drinking out of?
Yeah.
All right, we're back. So, as you probably guessed, carbon footprint, it's pretty easy. You're talking about a footprint is the evidence you leave if you're walking on sand, for example.
Exactly.
And if we talk about carbon, we're talking about the element, right?
Mm-hmm.
Carbon.
Yep. So carbon is something that is in everything, basically. It's organic, but it can also, in the case of a carbon footprint, mean the amount of maybe waste or damage that we do to the earth or to the environment.
Right. So, for example, you're driving your car. We all know that the gas that is emitted from the exhaust pipe is CO2, right?
Yeah.
And that contains carbon. So that's a way of seeing that you're leaving a footprint of carbon. You are damaging the atmosphere a little bit by driving your car.
So in talking about a carbon footprint, we talk about having a low carbon footprint, which is good, or a very high carbon footprint, which is bad.
Right. So there were a lot of interesting things coming up in the dialogue. One of the first things was...
Well, the first thing that they're talking about in this dialogue is they're having kind of an argument about whether or not global warming and global climate change really exists.
Yeah, this is a very interesting part because some people say, well, global warming is happening, global warming is real. And other people say, well, it's not real. It's not really a problem. This is just a phase that the Earth will go through and like everything, it'll disappear.
Well, I agree with people who say that the Earth goes through phases because sometimes there are centuries that are hotter and sometimes there are centuries that are colder. But I think it's undeniable that there has been a large and immediate global climate change in the last maybe 20 years.
Yeah, we're definitely speeding up maybe that cycle, right?
Exactly. And I think what's great evidence of this and terrible evidence of this is the 3 earthquakes, massive earthquakes that have happened in the last couple of months. And I think that earthquakes like last year and like this year are really, really important reminders that we do, as humans, influence the way that the world responds to us.
I think I always see it as the earth kind of just shaking its back, kind of saying like, get off me. You know?
Stop it.
Stop it.
That itches.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's kind of the way I see earthquakes sometimes. But when they were talking about, well, is it real? Is it not? They use a really interesting phrase when it says, it sounds like a bunch of mumbo jumbo.
Mumbo jumbo.
Yeah.
So this is a way to say that it sounds like a bunch of garbage, or it sounds like a bunch of gibberish. It sounds like a bunch of people are talking about something that doesn't really exist. So mumbo jumbo is basically something that's not really real or true.
I think, don't you also, can you use it as somebody that's saying something that you don't really understand?
Right. So if maybe I'm talking to you about something that's very academic and very scholarly, you say, sounds like a bunch of mumbo jumbo to me.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what the person said, the environmental problems are a bunch of mumbo jumbo. But it was really interesting because they were like, well, we have to save the earth. And then there was actually a phrase here that was really kind of hard for me to understand when the person said, I mean, honestly, we live in the boonies.
Boonies.
So what does it mean by living in the boonies?
This is a very common word to hear in spoken English, especially with young people. Boonies means we live far away from civilization. We live far away from cities. We live far away from everything. So maybe these people live in the countryside or in a small village. And they don't feel like they're affected by what people in the big cities do. Okay.
So if you say, oh, I live in the boonies, you're just saying, I live really far.
Really far away. So this is a very common American word, I think. You can also say boondocks, which is like that movie Boondock Saints. But boondocks and boonies means very far away. So I could say, Marco, I'm not going to drive out to your house for a party. You live in the boonies.
Do you have any other ways that you can say that you live really far away?
You live in Egypt.
You live in Egypt.
Which for us in America is obviously very, very far away.
Sometimes we say...
Yonks.
The Yonks, exactly.
Yonks, people in New Zealand say that.
I've also heard people say, oh, you live where the wind turns around.
Really?
Haven't you heard that one? Yeah.
No, I like that one.
It's like, you live so far. Oh, God, you live where the wind turns around.
The end of the earth.
Exactly.
Wow.
So, well, there are a lot of different ways of saying that. So they were talking about different aspects of the environment, like we heard the word green or energy efficient.
Okay, so basically what they're doing is they're talking about some of the things they've heard in the media maybe or on TV about what people are supposed to be doing. You know, these are very abstract. That means these are very kind of big terms. Go green or be more energy efficient.
Yeah, I've heard this. Like, for example, when people say, oh, you have to be more green or go green, that means more friendly towards the ecosystem, right?
That's right. So this is a very general suggestion, and we can talk about specifics in a minute, but this is a very general suggestion for thinking about the environment and doing things to help it. And so go green or be green is a way to be more environmentally friendly. We also have using energy efficient computers or light bulbs or TVs.
Right.
And the third thing that they talk about, and this is something that comes up a lot, is sustainability. Okay.
Yeah, that's a big word that a lot of people like to use.
It is.
In this type of topic, sustainability.
Right. So sustainability comes from the word to sustain. That means to hold out over time or to continue. So you think about something. Maybe sustainability is, I think, in many cases about doing or having habits, doing things that you can continue to do for a long time. For example, driving a big SUV to work every day is not keeping in mind sustainability because one day there will be no oil. So then what do?
Right.
So that's not a sustainable action. Sustainable actions mean that we have less impact, negative impact on the world.
Right. So basically what you're trying to do is to sustain, which means to hold, to withstand these habits, for example.
Right.
So when you talk about a sustainable ecosystem, it means that it has everything it needs and it can continue to work for a very, very long time.
Right. So you can also talk about sustainable development, which we talk about in aid and giving aid to other countries. So sustainable development is trying to help other countries or other people in ways that they can continue to do for a long time.
It's also very popular with tourism. They talk about sustainable tourism.
Right. That means thinking about the environment and having tourism that can last forever, not tourism that will destroy the environment because it's very harmful.
It's a very interesting topic, and as you say, it's used in a wide range of cases: sustainable development, sustainable projects, sustainable tourism. There are a lot of different ways that people use this, but it's basically the same thing, right? In essence, it refers to that.
Yes, keeping something going over time. But I think the big question here is, if you want to go green, if you want to be environmentally friendly, what do you do? Because it's not about big ideas. It's about specifics. It's about changing your everyday actions, right? And so these guys had a couple of ideas.
Yeah, they came up with something like, for example, hybrid vehicles, which is a big thing now. Basically, hybrid means two, right? It's a combination of two or more.
That's right. So, the Sphinx in Egypt, that's a hybrid.
Right, between a man and a lion.
Exactly.
Right. So a hybrid vehicle basically uses gasoline, but also electricity. So they're actually very efficient because...
And they're quiet.
They're quiet. And usually where you use up most of your gasoline is in traffic. Because your car is on, you're accelerating, you're braking, you're accelerating, you're braking. So in this case, I think hybrid vehicles run on the electric engine until they hit, I think it's 30 miles per hour, yeah. And once you surpass that, then it switches to the gas engine, which obviously if you have a constant high speed, it's more efficient, the combustion of the gasoline.
Exactly. So a good example of a hybrid vehicle is the Toyota Prius.
Right. I think it was like the first one commercially available.
But now they have all kinds, and they're actually trying to make entirely electric cars. So lots of things to watch out for there. But they also talked about something for the house, right? So if you want to not just have a nice car that is environmentally friendly, but also to do things with your house, what can you put on your roof?
I think we've seen a lot of these. These are called solar panels.
Okay, solar has to do with the sun. So solar power, solar panel, that means energy that comes from the sun. So the sun. And a panel is like a pad or like some kind of device that can take the energy from the sun.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Basically, in some places you have anywhere between 8 to 12 hours of sunlight. So the whole day, these panels are absorbing energy. You can store them maybe in batteries and then just use them later. So basically, you don't really need to use electricity that comes from coal or from nuclear power plants because, if you want to turn on a light, it doesn't really use up a lot of electricity.
And there's no waste.
It's all clean.
So my question for you, does Ecuador have a lot of solar panels everywhere? Because you guys have so much sunlight down there.
We don't really have a lot of them. It's not a big commercial thing yet, but there are a lot of projects going around to help implement these things a lot better. For example, taking these technologies to the countryside where people don't have access to electricity by means of cables, right? So they're implementing that there, getting them to use it, but it's still expensive. That's the problem with solar panels is that, of course, it's an energy efficient way of going. It'll save you money in the long run, but
upfront
you got to spend a lot of money.
Well, and here's a good way to use sustaining. If someone in the countryside has solar panels in their house, it's a self-sustaining way to produce energy.
Exactly.
You don't have to depend on another place or a person.
Yeah, actually, this is a very popular thing in many developed countries. I remember when I was living in Chile, big buildings were being marketed as energy efficient and green by showing that they can be self-sustaining. So basically, they would have solar panels on the roof. They would collect sunlight all day, and then they had big batteries that would store this energy, and then you can use it. They were more efficient into keeping heat or keeping the cold. And also what we saw in the vocab that they also had was rain barrels. So basically collecting water from the rain, and then they can use this water obviously through a filtering system in order to be able to drink it or to wash your clothes and stuff. But basically, they would say that it could reduce your carbon footprint by more than 50%, and also the amount of money you would spend, because you wouldn't spend so much money on water, you wouldn't spend so much money on electricity or gas and things like this.
That's awesome. Well, one of the biggest concerns as far as environmentalism is water. Where water will come from in 50 years.
Yeah.
Because there is a limited amount of fresh water in the world.
Yes.
And if we can reuse rainwater and collect it, I think it's brilliant. So a barrel basically is like a big container, circular. It's like a circle, and it stands up on the ground or on a roof.
And it's brilliant because if you have a rain barrel that collects all this rain and you have solar panels, basically you don't need gas or electricity to take a warm shower. You just have the solar panels that can heat up the rain barrel water, and there you have a warm water. You have a warm
so
shower.
Nice. You have sun-kissed warmth, and you have like fresh rainwater. And
Yeah. But the whole water issue is a very popular topic. I recommend that any of our listeners read. There's a very interesting article that talks about, don't worry about petroleum running out in 50 years. We're probably going to run out of our water before that.
Yeah.
And they project droughts and huge famine in places like India, like in the Middle East, in even in places of China.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, not to scare anyone, but
But yeah, it's
No,
interesting reading though. Yeah, it's really good.
very serious stuff. Well, the last thing that I think we should talk about before we listen to today's audio file again is the compost bin. Now, this is maybe something that's hard to understand for someone who's never seen one before.
Yeah.
But basically, compost is... well, the verb is to compost, but it's also a noun. But a lot of people, they don't want to throw away their food and their, organic material, things like flowers and food and biodegradable things. They actually reuse them. So basically, they have a space in the backyard of the house where they throw away all the old food.
Yeah.
Nothing plastic, nothing non-biodegradable. And that over time turns into fertilizer or mulch for their gardens.
Yeah.
So basically you're putting it back into the earth.
Yeah. No, this is a very good option, and I remember seeing that even in Brazil, they have huge compost bins or compost places that they fill up with this garbage, and obviously things that decompose start to emit methane gas.
Yeah.
So they've found a way to harness this gas, transport it through tubes, and start using it. So actually having gas stoves with this
wow.
methane gas.
That's brilliant. So you can get two uses,
Right.
fertilizer and methane gas.
Yeah,
Very
so
smart.
there are a lot of options there to go green, to do your part to help the earth.
Wow. So let's listen again to the dialogue that we had today. Hopefully we've cleared up some of the things that were confusing for you, and we'll be back in just a moment.
So what's your guys' take on all this global warming hysteria in the media?
It's pretty serious, man. There have been tons of scientific studies, and the scientific community says that the Earth is heating up. We need to make some drastic changes to our lifestyle if we want to preserve our planet.
I don't know. It sounds like a bunch of mumble jumbo if you ask me. The Earth will save itself. It survived worse disasters in the past. I mean, honestly, we live in the boonies. There's no way anyone here is ever going to walk or bike to work, especially in the winter. And we have no bus system. My house is 40 years old, and it would take a lot of money to get it refitted to be green and energy efficient.
Well, I don't really know if I believe in global warming either, or whether or not it was our doing or a natural change the Earth is going through. But you have to admit that we're living pretty irresponsibly here in the West.
I guess.
I think the issue at hand is sustainability. We've only got this one Earth we can live on, and our resources are quickly disappearing because of our own carelessness and our inability to think of anyone but ourselves and anything but the present.
So, like I was saying, we need to change the way we live. We need to reduce our carbon footprint.
But it doesn't have to be that drastic. Hybrid vehicles and solar panels are too expensive to be feasible right now. And we don't have to be hippies living off the land and buying everything organic either, though it helps.
I carpool to work every day with some buddies of mine. I have a rain barrel outside my house I use to water my plants and my lawn in the summer, and I make sure I always bring reusable bags with me when I get my groceries. And we just started using biodegradable plastic made from corn oil for takeout orders at my family's restaurant. Remember the 3 R's? Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Exactly. It's just small, simple changes, like buying energy-saving light bulbs, starting a compost bin, recycling bottles and papers, using reusable water bottles, stop using disposable cups and cutlery.
Like the ones we're drinking out of?
Yeah.
All right, we're back. So it's a very interesting topic, very debatable. We have Earth Day coming up, I think. You have to turn off your lights for an hour.
That's right. Earth Hour, Earth Day. So remember, reduce, reuse, recycle, the 3 R's.
Yeah.
Think about the way that you use things and, try and reuse them if you can.
Yeah, it's a very good topic. We want to know what you think about it. And also, if you have any suggestions or any comments about future advanced lessons, why don't you tell us? Come to englishpod.com and we'll see everyone there.
Bye.
Bye. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Unintelligible or incomprehensible language. Mumbo jumbo. Gain heat or get hot. Heat up. Maintain in safety from injury, peril, or harm. Preserve. Rural, country, or jungle. Boonies. Keep in existence and maintain. Sustainability. Sudden and severe. Drastic. Capable of being done with means at hand. Feasible. Add new parts. Refit. Prepare and equip for additional use. Refit. Available source of wealth. Resource. Share the car with others to work. Carpool.
Let's try that faster.
Sudden and severe. Drastic. Capable of being done with means at hand. Feasible. Maintain in safety from injury, peril, or harm. Preserve. Prepare and equip for additional use. Refit. Unintelligible or incomprehensible language. Mumbo jumbo. Share the car with others to work. Carpool. Rural, country, or jungle. Boonies. Keep in existence and maintain. Sustainability. Available source of wealth. Resource. Gain heat or get hot. Heat up. Add new parts. Refit.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Mumbo jumbo. That's a load of mumbo jumbo. There is no such thing as aliens. Mumbo jumbo. That's a bunch of mumbo jumbo. You guys like each other and get along well together, so you should at least try one date. Mumbo jumbo. Some people say that what the Bible teaches is a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but I think there's some truth to it. Preserve. By living responsibly, we can preserve our planet for generations to come. Preserve. If you don't start preserving your relationship with your sister now, I'm afraid it will only get worse. Preserve. This historical building has been preserved since the 19th century. Refit. My sister had her living room refitted with a new entertainment system. Refit. The mountain climbers arrived at the base camp, got refitted, and set off again the next morning. Refit. For my birthday, my wife surprised me by refitting my car with a leather interior. Sustainability. Sustainability consists of living one's life in a way that sustains the earth. Sustainability. Sustainability is starting to catch on, and many companies are finding greener ways to make their products. Sustainability. This store is all about sustainability. They sell clothes made from organic materials, purses made from recycled aluminum and plastic, as well as notebooks made with recycled paper. Resource. We need to start finding alternative energy sources because our resources of carbon and oil are limited. Resource. The way we are living is rapidly depleting many of our natural resources. Resource. Solar electrical device connected solar cells and wind turbines are becoming more and more common because they are renewable resources in order to produce electricity.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we have an upper intermediate level lesson. It's kind of bitter, it's a little bit sad, but it's also kind of sweet.
That's right. We have a lesson today all about getting a divorce or divorcing someone.
Yeah, so this is what happens when two people's marriage ends. They decide they want to leave each other. They have a divorce. So let's take a listen to today's dialogue, and we'll be back in a moment.
Joanne, let's not make this divorce any more acrimonious than it already is, okay? Let's just get down to business and start dividing this stuff up fairly so we can go our separate ways, alright?
Fine with me. I just want to get this over with. It's important we make a clean break. I should have signed a prenup.
What was that?
Nothing? Anyway, you're right. There's no reason this has to be nasty. My lawyer tells me that you've accepted our alimony proposal and the division of property, as well as the custody agreement. I keep the cat and you get the dog. So that's done. Finally.
Well, let's not go there, Joanne. Okay, so let's start with the record collection. I'll take the albums I contributed, and you can have your cheesy disco albums back.
Fine, but I'm keeping the antique gramophone as my grandfather gave it to me.
I believe that was a wedding present to both of us, Joanne, and you hardly ever use it.
He's my grandfather, and he never really liked you anyway.
Whatever. Alright, I'll concede the silly gramophone if you'll agree that I get the silver tea set.
How typical. When are you ever going to use a silver tea set? Fine. I don't want to drag this out any more than necessary. What's next? What about these old photographs?
Which ones? Let me have a look. Oh wow, look at that. That brings back memories. Remember that?
Our trip to Italy. I remember that day. We were going to visit the Trevi Fountain, and we got caught in the rain.
And you looked so adorable with your hair all wet. I had to take a picture of you standing there in that little alley, smiling and laughing in the rain.
Oh, we really did have fun back then, didn't we?
Oh, Joanne, are we making a big mistake? I know our relationship has been on the rocks for some time, but are you sure we can't reconcile and try again? I still love you.
Oh, Jeff, I love you too. I'm so glad we didn't have to decide who keeps the motorcycle.
The motorcycle? But that's mine!
All right, we're back. So now why don't we take a look at 6 key words on language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
Okay, Marco, this first word is what we call an SAT word. That means it's very difficult. It's so hard that many high school students in America study it before they go to college. Acrimonious.
So the sentence starts off by saying, let's not make this divorce any more acrimonious than it already is.
This divorce is very acrimonious, but let's not make it worse.
Okay, so acrimonious would be
Bitter.
bitter, very complicated.
Hard. So people emotional about it. You know, people, Joanne and Jeff, are getting a divorce. They're very angry at each other. So they're not having a peaceful divorce. This is the opposite. It's very bitter. It's very angry.
Can you say this test is very acrimonious?
No. Usually relationships are acrimonious.
Okay.
For example, ever since they had that big fight, Jeff and Joanne's relationship has been very acrimonious.
Okay, awesome. So acrimonious, a very hard word there. As you say, many people study it to pass exams in order to go into college. So now you know. Now moving on, we have a very common legal term. When people are getting married, they want to sign sometimes a prenup.
Yeah, you said it's common. You hear this a lot in movies and TV.
Yeah, with celebrities.
Yeah, you read about celebrities. So basically, a prenup is a short way of saying a prenuptial agreement. Nuptial means having to do with marriage.
Right. So basically, if you sign a prenup, you are agreeing to certain conditions before you get married.
That's right. It's a contract between future husband and future wife about what happens if they divorce. For example, I decided not to get a prenup with my fiance because I don't think we'll get divorced. But maybe he decided to get a prenup because in case they divorce, he wants to keep his car.
Right. So it usually happens a lot with celebrities, as we say, because they have a lot of money. And if they get divorced, then usually it can get complicated, how much money the spouse gets, etc. So maybe their prenuptial agreement or prenup will be that if they get divorced, the wife may get maybe $1 million instead of $100 million.
Exactly. It's a way many people protect themselves financially in case of divorce.
Very good. Now, moving on, another legal term and related to money is an alimony.
Okay, so let's look at the context of this word. Joanne is talking and she says, my lawyer tells me you've accepted our alimony proposal. Alimony. So this is probably something to do with money, right?
So she said that her lawyer has proposed an alimony, and that's usually a settlement, an amount of money that you agree on when you get divorced.
Right, so this is exactly it. In a divorce, this is how much money one person will pay the other.
That's right. So if two people are married and when they get a divorce, their alimony may be the husband. If he's got a lot of money, he will pay an alimony of $500,000.
Right. And so this is different from property, which is the next thing. Division of property means that you talk about who will receive the car, the house, things like that.
Okay. Very good. So very complicated situations when you're getting divorced, prenups and alimony. But moving on, they were talking about custody as well. Custody of maybe children, maybe custody of their pets.
That's right. So you talk about alimony. This is money. Property, which is things. But what about people and animals? This is called custody. I want custody. Custody means caring for something or looking after something. You could say the child is in the grandmother's custody.
Okay, so in the care of the grandmother.
That's right.
So usually as well, when people get divorced, somebody gets custody of the children.
Right. So he wants custody, but he doesn't have a job, so she will receive custody. You could say that. In this case, though, we're talking about custody of pets, animals.
Right. In this case, it's animals, but it's actually true, right? People, when they get divorced, they may ask the court for custody of their pets.
That's right. And sometimes custody is what makes a divorce extremely acrimonious.
Yes. Who gets to keep the children? Who gets to keep the pets? Now, moving on and a little bit away from legal terms, they were dividing up their property and saying, well, I get to keep this, you get to keep that. And Joanne said, I'm keeping the antique gramophone as my grandfather gave it to me.
So who cares about pets and money? I want the gramophone.
Right.
All right, so this is actually a word you don't hear very often anymore.
It's an old thing, and that's what antique means, right? Antique is old.
Right, so antique, this is an adjective here. It can also be a noun. An antique table, an antique gramophone, is something that's very old, like 100 years old or 150 years old.
And a gramophone is one of those machines that you see in movies that play the old vinyl records and has like a big horn where the sound echoes.
That's right. So in the 19th century, early 20th century, people didn't have CDs or MP3s or iPods. This is how they listened to music. So you usually have a hand crank. You have to turn the machine, and then the music will play, and you can dance and do whatever.
Right. So that's a gramophone. Now moving on to our last word, Jeff said, you know what? Okay, fine. Keep the gramophone. All right. I'll concede the silly gramophone. So to concede.
To concede means to give up an argument.
Okay, so you give up, you give in, you say, all right, take it.
That's exactly right. So in this case, the argument is who will receive the gramophone? They fight, they argue, and finally, Jeff says, I concede. Okay, I give up. You take it.
And is it only for things, or can you also concede someone like you say somebody is right?
You can say that, or an election. For example, there are two people who want to be president, and the vote is counted, and it's not clear who the president is, and one person says, fine, I concede. That means I give up, you win.
Okay, very good. So to concede. All right, 6 key words there. They're very interesting, especially the legal terms. Very common, and it's very common, and it's very useful for you to know next time you're watching maybe a movie or something related to this topic.
Hopefully not the next time you're getting divorced.
Right. But let's move on now to 4 key phrases that we have for everyone on Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
Marco, let's get this over with. I'm tired. I want to go home.
Let's get it over with. Come on, let's just do it and get it over with.
All right, so this is our first phrase in Fluency Builder. To get this over with, or to get it over with.
Okay, so let's take that as a phrase. And to get something over with means let's just finish it quickly. Let's stop delaying.
That's right. This is a way to ask to finish something quickly or to stop something. So, for example, I have to go to the dentist later. Maybe I really don't want to go. I'll say to myself, let me just get this over with, and once it's done, I don't have to worry about it.
Or maybe you have homework to do, and instead of doing it later, you're just like, okay, I'm going to do it now and just get it over with.
All right, to get over with, to get something over with.
Okay. And when they were talking about breaking up or separating, Joanne mentioned it's important we make a clean break. What does she mean by making a clean break?
All right, we hear this phrase all the time. It's a very important phrase. In relationships, it means when two people leave each other, you don't then call them or see each other or hang out. It means a clean break. You stop altogether.
Okay.
You stop something completely.
So you don't talk anymore, you don't see each other anymore, you completely just stop contact with each other.
Exactly. You can also say this about breaking something. You could say it was a clean break. When I broke my arm, it was a clean break. There were no little pieces of bone or any problems like that. It was a clean break. That means completely broke.
Okay, so when we talk about clean break in a relationship, it means we completely break up, we stop talking to each other, and it's over with. It's in the past.
Exactly.
All right. So moving on, they were talking and completely, arguing about, I get the gramophone, I get the tea set. And Joanne said, okay, fine. I don't want to drag this out any longer than necessary.
So you can hear her. I don't want to drag this out any longer than necessary. So to drag something out means to extend, to make something longer, to make something take more time than it should.
Okay, so for example, if someone's giving a speech, they may be dragging it out, right? And you're so if someone's giving a very long speech, you're like, oh my god, he's dragging the speech out so long.
Yeah, when will he ever stop?
Right.
Or you could say in an argument, I'm tired of arguing. Let's not drag this out anymore. Let's just stop.
Okay. So to drag something out is usually time related, to make things longer than necessary.
Exactly.
All right. And for our last phrase, when Jeff was talking about the relationship, he says, I know our relationship has been on the rocks for some time. Okay, so the relationship was on the rocks.
Okay, so this is an interesting phrase. Think about rocks. You know, you see rocks on the ground in the ocean. Something that's on the rocks, in this case, means something that is not going well. Something that has problems. Yes, it's not smooth. So when Jeff says our relationship has been on the rocks, he's saying we fight a lot. We have problems. It's not working.
So if I say my company has been on the rocks recently, it means it's not doing very well.
Business is not going well.
Okay. So you can use this for different things. Now, obviously, you may have heard it before for drinks. You say scotch on the rocks.
Right, that's different. Be careful. In that sentence, Marco's talking about ice.
Right? Yeah. So that's different if you ask for a drink on the rocks. But if you describe yourself or your company or a relationship as being on the rocks, it means you're having a tough time.
It's a bad situation.
Okay.
Exactly.
So it's a very useful phrase. I think that's very native, very colloquial if you say something like
Absolutely. It's a great phrase to use. I encourage you. I mean, I hope that your situation, your work, and your relationships are not on the rocks. But I do hope that when you're practicing speaking, you use this phrase a lot because it's really, really colloquial, like you say, Marco.
Yeah, it's really good. So I think we've taken a look at a lot of phrases, a lot of vocab. Why don't we go back, listen to the dialogue for one last time.
Joanne, let's not make this divorce any more acrimonious than it already is, okay? Let's just get down to business and start dividing this stuff up fairly so we can go our separate ways, alright?
Fine with me. I just want to get this over with. It's important we make a clean break. I should have signed a prenup.
What was that?
Nothing? Anyway, you're right. There's no reason this has to be nasty. My lawyer tells me that you've accepted our alimony proposal and the division of property, as well as the custody agreement. I keep the cat and you get the dog. So that's done. Finally.
Well, let's not go there, Joanne. Okay, so let's start with the record collection. I'll take the albums I contributed, and you can have your cheesy disco albums back.
Fine, but I'm keeping the antique gramophone as my grandfather gave it to me.
I believe that was a wedding present to both of us, Joanne, and you hardly ever use it.
He's my grandfather, and he never really liked you anyway.
Whatever. Alright, I'll concede the silly gramophone if you'll agree that I get the silver tea set.
How typical. When are you ever going to use a silver tea set? Fine, I don't want to drag this out any more than necessary. What's next? What about these old photographs?
Which ones? Let me have a look. Oh wow, look at that. That brings back memories. Remember that?
Our trip to Italy. I remember that day. We were going to visit the Trevi Fountain, and we got caught in the rain.
And you looked so adorable with your hair all wet. I had to take a picture of you standing there in that little alley, smiling and laughing in the rain.
Oh, we really did have fun back then, didn't we?
Oh, Joanne, are we making a big mistake? I know our relationship has been on the rocks for some time, but are you sure we can't reconcile and try again? I still love you.
Oh, Jeff, I love you too! I'm so glad we didn't have to decide who keeps the motorcycle.
The motorcycle? But that's mine!
All right, we're back. So a very interesting dialogue all about divorce. Now, This is a very common situation nowadays in many countries, such as the United States or Europe. Divorce rates are very high lately, like in the past 10, 20 years.
Yeah, they do say that since maybe the 70s or 80s, divorce rates have been on the rise. I think the average now in America is about 50%.
Yeah, it's like 5 in 10 marriages end in divorce.
That's right.
And then from what I understand or I read once, I think out of those 50% that get divorced, if they remarry, again, the probabilities of those that get remarried are again half. So most likely people will get divorced at least twice.
That's true. Although sometimes you meet people who got married when they were very, very young and they realize that they grew up a little bit and their personality changed or their goals changed and they divorced that one time, but then later in life when they marry again, they know who they are. They get married again and it's better. So I think the situations are all quite different, but it is true that there are a lot of divorces in America. What about Ecuador though? I mean, is the divorce rate similar?
No, not really. I think people are still a little bit more old-fashioned in that sense. Like it was before, it was even a little bit taboo to be divorced.
Yeah.
But I don't think people get divorced as often, especially if people have been together for quite a while. That's one of the things that surprises me a lot is I've met people who have been married 20, 30 years and then get divorced. It's like, what? It's like you've been through the toughest times. You've pretty much beat the odds. And why do you get divorced at such a late age?
Yeah, it does seem counterintuitive, but it's possible that they were unhappy for that time and they didn't want to affect their children's lives.
Right, maybe.
And so when their children go to college or leave, they say, okay, now I can, make a big decision.
I know in countries, for example, such as Chile, divorce is still illegal. I think in the Philippines as well.
Really?
Yeah, it's still illegal to get divorced.
Is that because they're very religious countries?
I know Chile is not really that religious. I don't know what it is exactly by law, but a lot of people, I think it may be legal now. I can't really remember very well. I think one of our Chilean listeners can help us out here. But I know a lot of people used to annul their marriages because of this.
I see.
So they would be like, oh, I put the wrong address. So no, this marriage is not valid.
Right.
Or stuff
I
like
spelled
that.
my name wrong.
Yeah. So,
interesting. Well, I'd be curious to know, as you said, whether any of our Chilean friends know more about this, or for the rest of you, in your country, is divorce common? Is it uncommon? Are there laws that prohibit or that allow divorce? Let us know on our website, englishpod.com.
all right, we'll see you guys there.
Bye.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Thorough or complete stop in a relationship. Clean break. Prenuptial agreement, a contract prior to marriage. Prenup. The act of keeping safe or guarding. Custody. To acknowledge, often reluctantly, as being true. Concede. Proceed for an extended period of time. Drag this out. Set or keep apart in the relationship. Go our separate ways.
Let's try that faster.
To acknowledge, often reluctantly, as being true. Concede. Proceed for an extended period of time. Drag this out. Set or keep apart in the relationship. Go our separate ways. Prenuptial agreement, a contract prior to marriage. Prenup. Thorough or complete stop in a relationship. Clean break. The act of keeping safe or guarding. Custody.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Clean break.
I don't care if he wants to keep the house and the car. I just want a divorce and a clean break so I never have to see him again.
Clean break.
A clean break can only occur if both parties are financially independent.
Clean break.
You're not able to divorce with a clean break at the moment because your husband can't work and needs financial support.
Go our separate ways.
I think it is better if we go our separate ways.
Go our separate ways.
They decided to end the relationship and go their separate ways.
Go our separate ways.
I proposed we go our separate ways, but she didn't want to.
Custody.
I am fighting for custody of my dog.
Custody.
The court gave custody of the children to the father.
Custody.
People always have custody battles when they get divorced.
Concede.
After 3 hours of fighting, she conceded to him the computer.
Concede.
I find it hard to concede when people are right.
Concede.
He conceded me the right to use the car every day.
Drag this out.
I hate it when people drag out a conversation for hours.
Drag this out.
I don't want to drag out this argument any longer.
Drag this out.
The weatherman said that this bad weather will drag out for another 3 days.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we have a sad lesson for you. This is an intermediate level lesson about what happens when a friend or family member dies.
Exactly. So we have a lot of words that are related to all the preparations for when somebody dies, and also some phrases that you can say to someone that maybe had a family member who recently passed away. So before we get into all of this, we have a key word that we want to take a look at now in Vocabulary Preview.
Vocabulary Preview.
All right, so in Vocabulary Preview, you have that one word, and it's the title of our lesson also, funeral.
Funeral. So funeral is an event. It's something that we have. So basically a funeral is the time when we mourn someone who has died. It's a celebration of their life.
Right, so it's kind of like a ceremony where you respect that person that passed away, right? Some people will talk about the person that passed away, or maybe, it's time to maybe honor that person, to, as you say, mourn and remember that person.
Right. So it's very common for people in different religions to have different traditions. In some religions, like I think in Christianity, you have a priest who will say some things that are very traditional and then say some things about the person who died. And other religions have different ceremonies.
Right.
So today we're going to take a look at what happens in preparing a funeral.
Hi, Daniel. How are you holding up? I'm greatly sorry for your loss.
Thank you. I'm doing much better. I've begun organizing everything for the funeral.
How's that going?
It's a lot harder than I imagined. There are many things that you have to arrange. I booked a time and date with the funeral home, but I still have a lot of things to do.
Have you bought a burial plot and a casket?
No, Wendy is being cremated. She always talked about how she didn't want to be buried. I already chose a cremation urn, and we plan to spread the ashes in the ocean.
I see. That sounds like something she would have really liked. I'm sure the memorial service will be tasteful. You're doing a great job.
Thanks. It hasn't been easy, but luckily we have life insurance, and Wendy left behind a detailed will that will sort out any other legal matters.
All right, we're back. So a pretty interesting dialogue, and I'm sure you have a lot of questions regarding some of those words and phrases that you heard. So why don't we take a look at 5 key words on language takeaway?
Language takeaway.
So basically, we have 2 friends in this dialogue who are discussing arrangements for a funeral, and one friend is asking the other about his preparations and asks if he's bought a burial plot.
Okay, burial plot. Now, what is a burial plot and why would you buy one?
Well, a plot, P-L-O-T, plot is a piece of land. So you can think about this logically. A burial plot, burial, to bury, is a place, a space in the ground where we bury a person.
Usually you buy one of these at a cemetery, right?
That's right. So cemeteries have usually a lot of land, and you can pay for a piece of land.
A small portion.
A small portion, yeah. And that's a burial plot.
Okay, good. And, well, our next word is related to what you put into this burial plot, right? Somebody dies, and what goes into this piece of land is a casket.
That's right. And I don't know if any of you are fans of the TV show 6 Feet Under, but you'll know from this TV show that there are many different kinds of caskets.
Right.
So a casket is a box. You can have fancy caskets, or you can have wooden caskets that are very simple, like pine. And basically, this is the box that the person's body will go into when they're buried.
Right. Very good. So that is called a casket. Well, moving on, a new trend, I would say, in many countries and many people around the world don't want to be buried. So what happens? You get cremated.
Cremated. So this is the option for people who are not buried. In some countries, China, for example, I don't think you can be buried. You have to be cremated because there's an issue of space.
Right.
And this is an option for most people where basically your friend or your loved one, their body is burned, and you can collect the remains afterwards. They're very small. They're ashes.
Right.
So it's like a burning process.
Okay, interesting. So the word is to be cremated, to get cremated.
Yeah, his body was cremated.
Was cremated. And well, as you said, you take the ashes and you can put them in a cremation urn or just an urn.
Okay, urn. This might sound like a strange word to you, but an urn is a special kind of pot, okay, or a vessel to hold things in. So, for example, in this case, we have a cremation urn that is a special pot, usually very beautiful. Sometimes there's a name on it with the deceased person's ashes, his or her remains.
Okay, very good. So, as you said, it's kind of like a vase or a pot, something very nice and small where you have the person's ashes. All right, so now we know what happened during the funeral. We know what happens, how you maybe cremate the person or you put them in a casket. And, well, what happens afterwards?
Well, afterwards, you have a memorial service. Okay, so many people want to know what's the difference between a funeral and a memorial service.
Right.
In my mind, a funeral is very quiet and sad, and you have some respectful words, and you usually put the casket into the ground, or you have some kind of ceremony. But a memorial service is an opportunity to talk to friends and family, to eat some food, to have some drinks, to talk about the person who died. It's almost like the party, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's a get-together of people who obviously are trying to give support to their friends or their family members who lost that person, but also to talk about that person in a good way and all the great memories they had. I guess that's why it's called a memorial service, because you remember and you give out your memories about that person.
Exactly.
Okay, great. So a lot of interesting words there, very specific to this topic, but obviously really important. So why don't we go back and listen to the dialogue again?
Hi, Daniel. How are you holding up? I'm greatly sorry for your loss.
Thank you. I'm doing much better. I've begun organizing everything for the funeral.
How's that going?
It's a lot harder than I imagined. There are many things that you have to arrange. I booked a time and date with the funeral home, but I still have a lot of things to do.
Have you bought a burial plot and a casket?
No, Wendy is being cremated. She always talked about how she didn't want to be buried. I already chose a cremation urn and we plan to spread the ashes in the ocean.
I see. That sounds like something she would have really liked. I'm sure the memorial service will be tasteful. You're doing a great job.
Thanks. It hasn't been easy, but luckily we have life insurance, and Wendy left behind a detailed will that will sort out any other legal matters.
All right, we're back. So we have a couple of phrases, 4 to be exact, that we want to take a look at now in Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
Okay, this first phrase is a very useful one if you're trying to ask someone about maybe how they're feeling, or someone who's had some problems recently. You can ask them how things are going. One person says to the other, "Hi, Daniel, how are you holding up?"
Right. How are you holding up? Now, you know that to hold up something means to have it in your hands, but in this case, you're talking about how are things going?
Right, but I wouldn't say, "Hey, how are you holding up?"
Right. You wouldn't say that to somebody, right? If normal circumstances.
Not if Marco looks really happy, I won't ask him. But if someone has passed through a very difficult period, for example, if someone dies in their family, or perhaps if they've been very sick, or, there's some negative or difficult things that happen, you can say, "How are you holding up?"
So basically means, how are you dealing with this difficult situation?
Yes, exactly.
Or how are you dealing with your illness? Okay. How are you holding up?
Or how are you holding up with your in-laws?
Right, exactly. How are you dealing with that difficult situation? And then the person complimented this by saying, and this is a very good phrase, this whole sentence is very useful if you want to say something nice to a person that has recently lost someone. You say, "I am greatly sorry for your loss."
Okay, so you might have heard the word loss before. Lose, loss. Loss is a noun. It's a thing. We normally say this about people who have died, because you don't want to say, "I'm really sorry for your dead brother."
Right.
It's sad. It's
Too direct.
very rude. Too direct. So in English, we say, "I'm greatly sorry for your loss, for this part of your life that has been, that has gone away."
Right.
You can also say, "I'm very sorry for your loss." This is standard phrase this is a standard phrase for funerals and memorial services.
Exactly. So if somebody's brother died, you go up to that person and you can say, "I am greatly sorry for your loss. I am very sorry for your loss." That's what you say. And it's very respectful, and it's very nice to say.
Yes, it's very nice.
All right. So now moving on, we've said that the person is sorry and everything. But then they were talking about the girl Wendy, and that she had life insurance, and that she also left behind a detailed will.
Does that mean she forgot it?
She forgot it. But that it can mean that, right?
Right. No, yeah, this is a phrase that has a couple different meanings. And so it's important to look at this one when we're talking about someone who has died, who left behind something. It means that they have completed it in this case, or it survives them.
Okay. So they left that for you. Okay. Because as you said, it has a couple of different meanings. Like to leave behind can be to lose or to forget. But in this case, specifically, it's to leave for you.
Yeah. For example, you could say he died and he left behind 3 children. Okay. So that means that he had 3 children when he died, and they're still alive.
Right. Okay. Very interesting phrase, to leave something behind. And so she left behind a detailed will, and that's going to sort out any other legal matters.
To sort out. This is a great verb. This is it's a verbal phrase that we hear a lot with documents and wills and things like this. Basically, to sort out means to solve problems, or to fix, or to amend. For example, have you sorted out that problem you had with your plane tickets?
Okay, yeah, to sort out. So have you fixed those problems, or have you solved those problems that you had with your plane tickets?
To sort out, to fix, to make arrangements for. Very, very useful phrase.
Very useful phrase. Okay. So 4 key phrases there, really good ones. Why don't we go back, listen to the dialogue, and we'll be back to talk a little bit more.
Hi, Daniel. How are you holding up? I'm greatly sorry for your loss.
Thank you. I'm doing much better. I've begun organizing everything for the funeral.
How's that going?
It's a lot harder than I imagined. There are many things that you have to arrange. I booked a time and date with the funeral home, but I still have a lot of things to do.
Have you bought a burial plot and a casket?
No, Wendy is being cremated. She always talked about how she didn't want to be buried. I already chose a cremation urn and we plan to spread the ashes in the ocean.
I see. That sounds like something she would have really liked. I'm sure the memorial service will be tasteful. You're doing a great job.
Thanks. It hasn't been easy, but luckily we have life insurance and Wendy left behind a detailed will that will sort out any other legal matters.
All right, we're back. So now, talking about funerals, there's an interesting word. What is it called when a person speaks at a funeral?
Well, normally at a funeral, a loved one or friend will give a eulogy.
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 Okay, that's EU, right?
EU. It looks like a funny word, but it's very important, and it's something that you hear a lot. Who will give the eulogy? Or his son will give the eulogy. So this is maybe the keynote address in a funeral. This is the important speech where someone will discuss the person who has died and his or her contributions and life.
Right. Okay, so that's called a eulogy. That's
right.
really, really interesting because, I don't know, it's kind of a word that you don't really use much and you wouldn't really know it. For example, I didn't really know about it until I saw it in a movie when he made a mistake. He said googlegy or something like that. I
really?
can remember it. Yeah, it was in a comedy. So, but very interesting words. It's a sad topic, but it happens. Sometimes you have to deal with these things. And so if you have to do it in English, well, what better way than to learn all of these things, which could come in handy sometimes.
That's right. And, you never know. You're watching a movie or something and this comes up. There are a lot of comedies, like you said. We call them black comedies. It means they're very dark and
talk about that.
strange. And they, like Four Weddings and a Funeral is a very
Yeah.
famous English movie about this kind of thing. And so this is useful vocabulary and some useful phrases for those situations as well.
Exactly. Even if you maybe meet somebody who... I remember I knew somebody who met a casket salesman.
Really?
Sold caskets.
It's an interesting job.
Yeah, so you never know.
You never know. Well, hope you've enjoyed this lesson. Not too dark for you, but please do remember to ask us any questions or practice some of your new words and phrases on our website, EnglishPod.com.
All right, we'll see you guys there.
Bye.
Bye. The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Continue to live through hardship. Hold up. The act of burying, especially the internment of a dead body. Burial. Burn up something and reduce to ash. Cremate. Being in keeping with good taste. Tasteful. Having many details. Detail.
Let's try that faster.
Continue to live through hardship. Hold up. Having many details. Detail. Burn up something and reduce to ash. Cremate. Being in keeping with good taste. Tasteful. The act of burying, especially the internment of a dead body. Burial.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Hold up. Craig is holding up well after the surgery. Hold up. He continued to hold up even with all the stress. Hold up. Our family is having a difficult time holding up after my father's death. Burial. Burial plot are expensive in Japan. Burial. My parents bought burial plot that are next to each other. Burial. Each burial plot in our cemetery has an individual ID number. Cremate. Cremation is more and more popular these days. Cremate. I want to be cremated when I die. Cremate. Many people choose to be cremated nowadays. Tasteful. This is a very tasteful color you use for your home. Tasteful. I think that this place is charming and tasteful. Tasteful. The wedding we attended was elegant and tasteful. Detail. There are detailed instructions on how to assemble the computer. Detail. Mike left detailed contact information in case you need to contact him. Detail. This book contains detailed information about Italy.